Okay, so Dak Prescott. What do you think of the man? But like, actually though, what word or emotion do you feel when someone brings up Dak Prescott in a discussion? For Cowboys fans, so often it's groans. For the average NFL fan though, they kind of feel indifferent. He's good, but he's not a threat to your team in a way a guy like Lamar or Mahomes is, because the guy's a choker, right? He does nothing but choke on his own chode in the biggest games and won't ever win anything, and I hate this. I hate this narrative so much. And regardless of your opinion on Dak, for these next 15 minutes or so, just allow me to try to change the way that you look at Dakota Prescott, because he's not what you think he is. You know the Dak Prescott origin story, right? Nobody wanted him. No one. He was barely a 3-star recruit out of high school. He was a backup at one point at Mississippi State, and although he had the leadership qualities you'd love in a franchise quarterback, his mechanical skills were wildly inconsistent at best, and he was a projected 6th round pick or around that area, and eventually he was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys in the 4th round of the 2016 draft. Not because they wanted him, but because their top 2 quarterbacks in Paxton Lynch and Connor Cook were both taken, both of which were elected to the Hall of Fame last offseason, and yeah, they settled for Dak Prescott. And Jerry Jones' crusty derriere lucked into an elite quarterback. Like, this is why people hate the Cowboys, and it's so frustrating. So frustrating when this happens. When a team does everything wrong, makes every wrong decision, but yet takes a 1 in a million shot in the dark and gets rewarded for it. Because in the 2016 preseason, Tony Romo went down with an injury, was condemned to the commentator box. Kellen Moore was also above Dak on the depth chart, but he got an owie too, and in stepped Dak Prescott. A young rookie with no experience at all, and with the biggest target in America on his back as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And this roster had hopes of a great season too, with first-round pick Ezekiel Elliott and an O-line loaded with Hall of Fame talent. With Romo, they were supposed to be great, but now all of that was like so far out the window it went into the house next to it. This season was going to solely rely on one thing. Was Dak Prescott good at football? And he was. He really, really was. In week 1, with the entire country watching, playing for the most insufferable team in possibly sports, Dak did not play well. But after that, he had the most efficient rookie season in modern history, given his volume, because in 10 of his next 11 weeks of football, he had a passer rating of over 103, at least. And the Cowboys won every single game. They won 11 in a row, and he and Ezekiel Elliott were on top of the world. The whole city loved Dak. He was praised for maturity, laser throws, rock-solid fundamentals, and was statistically the best quarterback in the league between the numbers. As a rookie that was never supposed to see the field. Under Jason Garrett, too! And I mean, the ability to succeed in an environment as against him as Dallas in 2016 was incredible. I mean, he went into Pittsburgh and dropped an efficient 302 touchdowns in a win. He went into Green Bay and kicked their ass, and yes, he was benefiting from clean pockets with the O-line and run game from Zeke, but Dak Prescott had become the NFL's newest, not only rising star, but established star. But then everyone turned on him. Just as quickly as they all loved the guy, he was now public enemy number 1 because he was the quarterback of the Cowboys. Or is there more to that? I don't know why we do this as fans, but we do. Everyone's a feel-good story until they start winning or losing over and over again. Everyone once loved Mahomes, but now he's winning too much, we hate him. Everyone once loved Lamar, but oh, he's a loser forever. He's an overrated quarterback that's not built for the playoffs. And Dak would later fall into this trap as well. And it all began with his torture at the hands of one bad, bad man. We'll talk about the playoffs in a second, because it is important, but 2016 was a resounding success, regardless of the playoff shenanigans. But this is also what makes sports so addicting, right? Cowboy fans believed again. They had hope. And in 2017, that hope was sucked out of them and drained into an external catheter. They weren't bad, but they weren't good. And Dak was a different player. With similar attempts, he was far less efficient. He routinely missed throws, and like the efficiency difference was actually rough. Completion percentage, touchdown percentage, QBR, passer rating, all of it went down, and he was ranked below quarterbacks like Blake Bortles and Case Keenum in all efficiency metrics basically, which is not ideal. And in 2018, Dak Prescott did also not have exactly a great season. He did turn it up at the end, as ignoring their 0-23 demolition at the hands of the Colts, and Marlon Mack's 140 rushing yards, who a lot of you I'm sure have never even heard of before as a human, which is also also crazy because looking at this Colts-Cowboys game, every single player besides Dak Prescott is now out of the league just 7 years later. But ignoring my boomer moment aside, like I said, ignoring that game, he was averaging 308 yards per game, 2.2 touchdowns, less than a pick, and a passer rating of 113.8, including a masterclass in Week 17, where he went for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And he carried that momentum into the playoffs, as he had a game-sealing touchdown run versus Seattle, and the Cowboys won the game. But nobody cares. I mean, nobody gives him any credit for this because 1 week later, even though he played better than he did versus the Seahawks, versus the Rams, they lost. And the season was labeled as a failure, right? Nothing else matters. No ring? Who cares? And as the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, again, I'll keep saying that, Dak got blamed for everything. It was at this point, just in year 3 of the Dak Prescott era, everyone quit on him. Dak isn't a winner. He'll never get it done. He's not anywhere near a top 10 quarterback. He can't carry an offense, and he never will be able to. And with Dallas being a team talked about for like at least an hour a day by Skip Bayless and those dipshits, everyone made it clear they thought Dak Prescott was overrated and will never win a Super Bowl. But before we continue, this video is sponsored by BetOnline. And if you've been watching videos on this channel for the past week or so, you're probably already familiar with BetOnline, but with the NFL season just about coming up, you might as well check it out at this point, and they have a lot going on too. And with the actual NFL season beginning, they're going to have more stuff going on with props and live betting, so give them a shot. You can check them out with just typing in BetOnline into any single browser and they'll pop up. So thanks to BetOnline for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get back to the video. So what did Dak do in 2019? With a rotting Dallas core in place, he played some great football, but nobody cared because Jason Garrett couldn't figure out how many testicles he had, let alone how to coach a professional football team, and the Cowboys failed to get a winning record for the first time in the Dak Prescott era. Oh, boo-hoo. How sad. So the narrative around Dak was already negative, but then finally in 2020, he got some sympathy. He got some respect. But it literally took a horrible tragedy for people to actually show some human element towards him. Like we've gone over, Dak Prescott has been repeatedly kicked down in life, and it takes a strong man to overcome everything that's been thrown at him. Hell, the guy's parents were divorced when he was young. He grew up in poverty. He was raised solely by his mother, basically, and she passed away from cancer when Dak was just 20. Jerry was also being stingy as hell throughout all of this, and he was still on his rookie contract deal, and before the 2020 season, Dak's older brother took his own life. And I mean, bro, this dude's a warrior. I don't care what you think about him as a football player, this dude is a beast. The mental strength it takes to get over this and come out on top over and over and over again it's just incredible human triumph. But throughout this tough time, Dak was very vulnerable and vocal about his mental health struggles with life and football, and with these feelings of anxiety, depression, and just general hopelessness, all amplified by quarantine at the time, he was not in a good place, and how could he have been? Enter Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is everything wrong with sports media. Everything. But the worst thing he probably has ever done, even to this point, because he's gone low before, was when Dak Prescott admitted his depression, Skip Bayless called him weak. He was tying that into why he'll never be a great quarterback. And guess what? Dak Prescott didn't just go on a tirade and scream about how unfair this was on every level. He heard what everyone was saying. And he said, all right, I got a new coach, new system, a bad team around me. I don't care though. I'm putting that cape on. This is my team. I'm America's quarterback. And he blew up the league in 2020, but then it was all taken away. For 4 weeks, Dak Prescott was the best quarterback in football. But he got tackled awkwardly versus the Giants and suffered a disgusting season-ending foot injury. And the NFL's leading passer and possibly the best quarterback in the league that year was done. He proved everyone wrong. He did, but he didn't even get a chance to finish the job because fate had other plans. And for the rest of his career, he kept doing that. In 2021, he bounced back, and again off the injury. Best year of his career. In 2023, again, he one-upped himself and became a top 5 quarterback in the league. And PFF had him ranked as the second best QB in football. Over Mahomes, over Allen, over everyone not named the MVP Lamar Jackson. He was the best quarterback in football against pressure. Something once considered a massive weakness was now his greatest strength, and he finished second in MVP voting. But again, nobody cared. So why? Why does nobody give him credit, even to this day? Why is Dak Prescott constantly ranked as one of the most hated players in football? Like, Dak Prescott is more hated by NFL fans, apparently, than a guy who routinely beats women and his children. Playoffs, 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 right? Because that's truly the essence of what matters in professional sports. When the pads are on, the human element kind of goes out the window to some extent. We as viewers don't care who you are. Whatever's going on off the field is irrelevant. If you win, you'll be in our hearts forever. Lose, and you're labeled a disappointment and forgettable. But has Dak Prescott been a playoff disappointment? What you'd say off the top of your head is, well, yeah, you stupid fuck-ass frog guy, of course he has. How many rings does he got, huh? Less than Kenny Pickett? So of course, yes, he's a choker. But let's look at his playoff resume together, okay? For what it's worth, Dak Prescott is an elite end-of-season player. He always has been, but his playoff resume is tough. In 2016, they lost to the Packers, but this was a flaming hot Green Bay team full of veterans with Super Bowl DNA. They had won 7 in a row, and Dak almost led an 18-point comeback as a rookie. So I think this is completely excusable. They were sabotaged only by Jared Cook's toes and Aaron Rodgers' testosterone levels. It happens. In the 2018 playoffs, he played well, but after the Seahawks win, despite an efficient performance, the defense got run over by the Rams for 273 rushing yards, led by C.J. Anderson. And they couldn't get a stop on defense, so Dak never really got a great chance. 2021, the next playoff chance they got, though, is when the narrative starts getting understandable, because the raid boss known as the 49ers showed themselves, and Dak Prescott did not play well. Is there any shame in losing to arguably the best team in football that year by 6 points? No, but he did not play a good game. But the thing is, the loss stung so hard because of the ending, where Dak Prescott slid in the middle of the field, time expired, and the Cowboys didn't have a chance to run another play, which overshadowed a ridiculous 14 penalties from the Cowboys, the biggest of the game being with 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the game when Deebo Samuel was tackled for no gain on 2nd and 9, which would have made it 3rd and 9, leading Dallas to get the ball back with about a minute left, right? You know, it's a fair amount of time. But instead, Randy Gregory picked up a holding, and his 3rd penalty of the game. But if you didn't watch the game and just listen to the media, Dak Prescott is a f***ing moron, and it's all his fault because he didn't hand the ball to the ref, because clearly the Cowboys were about to throw a 35-yard touchdown if they had one more play. That last mistake cost him everything, and it might not have even been Dak's fault. We still don't know who really called that play. It's just lazy narrative stuff. However, these next 2 playoff moments were kinda all his fault. But it's still important to give credit where credit's due. In 2022 versus Tampa Bay, the boogeyman of the NFC for 2 years, Dak Prescott played a perfect game. 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, 143 passer rating. To this day, the best by any Cowboys quarterback in any playoff game ever with at least 30 pass attempts. I mean, he just beat the best quarterback of all time so fucking badly, he just retired, but he just couldn't overcome the 49ers again. And this game, he was bad. He was really, really bad. Back then, when this game was happening and I gave a reaction, I said this was a legacy-defining game, and I stand by that. He just couldn't step up and make plays. Tony Pollard went down with an injury, which was horrible and hurt the offense, but this game still had no excuse to happen. Dallas's defense held the 49ers in check, who were the best team in football this year again, but Dak choked. He threw 2 terrible first-half picks, which was a huge point swing, and with a late-game chance to go win the game, he didn't. And again, the game ended with Ezekiel Elliott at center. So I mean, they did it to themselves. Every time the Cowboys lose in the playoffs under Dak, they managed to make it a spectacle. Aaron Rodgers to Jared Cook, C.J. Anderson legacy game, time runs out, Zeke at center, and then versus the Green Bay Packers to end the 2023 season, they got dismantled. Dak had 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, but this absurdly misleading stat doesn't even begin to tell you what happened in this game, because Dak Prescott's pick 6 ended the game, and his second pick 6 was just funny. And Cowboys fans lost hope on this day, because here's the thing, over his 7 playoff games, Dak Prescott is averaging 280 yards per game, 1.9 passing touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 93.1 passer rating. And while that's not better than Josh Allen or Mahomes, obviously, he is a significantly better playoff performer than a guy like Lamar Jackson on paper, who is averaging pretty much less in every single category. But that still doesn't tell the whole story. Dak just struggles against top defenses more and can't always step up to win a game himself, which, is human. But Dak Prescott is a great quarterback. And like I said, this whole spectacle of them losing playoff games combined with the massive market of the Dallas media is really blowing up how much blame Dak Prescott has in all of this. Does he have some blame in a lot of it? Yes. Does he have all of the blame? Not even close. And in 2025, if the Cowboys are going to have any offensive success, it's all going to come off of the arm of Dak Prescott. He's still in his prime if he can return from another injury, but if history tells us anything, he can. And time is running out though. In a league-wide landscape that feels like every single title for the next few years is going to come from either Mahomes, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, or Jackson, the odds are against Dak Prescott, but haven't they always been? But anyways, if you like this video, then subscribe, because I got a lot of videos on the channel just like this one. And if you did like this video, watch the video I did a few weeks back on the Raiders' entire history. It's pretty good, trust me. Thanks to all my Patreons for pledging tiers. It truly does mean a lot. But anyways, until next time.